We got both players just going through their setup here.
And in case you're just joining us, Andy, this is a true international match as Andy is coming from Leeds in the United Kingdom. He got 4th, been at the top 8 of Euros. He's won French nationals. He's a very experienced player. Mick is local to Minnesota. He's also the 2014 world champion.
Local to Minnesota, you say? Wow, geez, huh?
Well, he's part of the metagame that had Ethan in the last match.
Yeah, it seems like we're pretty good at card games here, wouldn't you say?
Not all of us, but Mick certainly is.
Mick certainly is. All right, both players counting out their starting hands.
And they both have their objectives picked out. Andy seemed to be pretty resolute and put down his objectives quickly.
Got the world champion trophy looming right there next to them. Only one of these guys is going to be able to walk away with it. So let's see what has Andy got in his hand. He's got some slicers, some Children of the Force. Looks like he is looking at his objectives, deciding if he's okay with his hand.
And the way this works again is Mick, as the dark side player, is trying to get that Death Star dial up to 12. It goes up once each turn. If Mick can take control of the balance of the Force and bring it to the dark side, it'll go up twice at the beginning of each turn. Andy is trying to destroy 3 of Mick's objectives.
Which are just getting revealed here.
Yep.
So we've got Dark Lord of the Sith, we've got the Killing Cold, and the Emperor's Web. 2 of those which have been with us since the very earliest days of Star Wars LCG. On Andy's side, we see Asteroid Sanctuary with the Falcon. And Spark of Rebellion.
And Spark of Rebellion, may the Force be with you. An integral part of Andy's strategy, which is to bring units in from outside of play, from the top of his deck, and be able to attack with them right away, and then commit them to the Force, remove the focus tokens from them, and win the Force back that way.
Absolutely.
We know that the Killing Cold has a couple copies of creatures that can remove people from challenges, and Mick is going to be looking as much as possible to play defensively and then maybe find an opening. This is a game where you build little cracks in your opponent's defenses, and then the floodgates just break open.
Yep. So he's playing Lannic Lackey, I think is what that unit is called there. Committing it to the Force to claim the Force. He also plays out Vader's Meditation Chamber, just a really cheap, efficient little resource.
And he's got 3 resources available, and he's got the Emperor's Web. So whether or not he's got Force Lightning in his hand, he's making Andy aware that he can do that.
Yep. And I think he does actually have it in his hand. I caught a glimpse of it. Looks like Andy just draws in a Chewbacca there. And we'll see if he chooses to play out Chewbacca or sticks with those slicers that he's got.
And Chewbacca, if he's committed to the Force, allows the Force struggle to be resolved by unit damage icons rather than Force icons.
Right, which is pretty crazy.
It's good in Chewbacca's favor.
Yeah, Chewbacca is very strong with the unit damage icons. All right, Andy looking at top card of his deck. It's a Falcon, which is a great card, but not something that can be popped in with Spark of Rebellion.
And we're pretty sure he's not going to reveal that at this point.
Yep. Playing out one of those slicers. Those let him look at the top card of his deck. If it's an enhancement, it gets put into play. They're pretty slick. And he does have a Bamboozle in hand, but not the resources to pay for it. And we'll see if he wants to declare an attack.
Yeah, and with that setup with the Children of the Bible and the slicers, he's also revealing to Mick that the top card of his deck is neither a unit of cost 2 or less or an enhancement.
Oh, and the Dark Lord of the Sith forcing Andy to focus one of his units there. So he's declaring an engagement against it with that slicer.
And Dark Lord of the Sith is a key part of Mick's strategy, just trying to get extra focus on his opponent's units and then find ways to destroy them later.
Yep, keep it locked down. Yep, and there's the Force Lightning. So that slicer is toast.
It's a big Force Lightning for a relatively inexpensive unit.
And there's Kanan popping out for free with Spark of Rebellion.
Right, yep. Yeah, we saw Andy drew when he won the Edge battle.
Yep.
And that left top of the deck available.
It did indeed.
And because he hadn't used Spark of the Rebellion earlier, he had the opportunity to use it this time.
Yep. So first engagement declared against Emperor's, or second engagement rather, declared against Emperor's Web, it looks like.
Which is really handy if you're playing and you're able to hold back and have enough units to prevent someone from attacking it. That cost reduction in the first Sith event you play each turn is handy, but at 4 damage capacity, it's also pretty vulnerable.
Yep, it certainly can be. So dealing 2 damage to Emperor's Web there, as Kanan focuses, and Andy will be able to commit 1 or both of these units to the Force and remove those focus tokens with May the Force be with you. And that's what we see right here. Dial ticks up to 2 as Mick looks at his hand. It looks like he's got an Emperor of some kind in there.
Yeah, he does, with all those Force icons on the card.
Yep, I think it's the one from Galactic Ambitions rather than the core set one. So he's got an Ice Tromper in there, one of those creatures that we were talking about.
So I guess here's a question. Does he go for the Emperor? Does he go for the extra units and build board state?
Well, he would need another resource to be able to play out the Emperor. So
is it Web 1? Web is 1.
Web is 1, yeah. He's got 5 resources. So Emperor is 6.
He's got to build towards it.
Yep, exactly. He's got his Ice Tromper. He has some kind of... they're not called Dark Side Apprentices. They're some kind of, minor Dark Side character. Sith Warrior, that's what it is.
They don't like to think they're minor Dark Side characters.
But they don't even have names. How important can they be?
They do have lightsabers.
Well, I mean, do you need a name if you have a lightsaber? Probably not. Mick considering his options.
Yeah. I expect we'll see both of those units come out. I don't know what else he's holding for at this time.
It's interesting to note for Andy's sake that Mick is not running the Moment of Triumph, which is the counter that many decks found to the Spark of Rebellion decks, like that one that Andy is playing. So we got a Sith Warrior and another Lanik lackey guy.
And Mick's light side deck is also a Spark of Rebellion deck. So again, if Mick wins this one, he's world champion. He's gone undefeated. Andy's taken a loss. If Andy loses this game, that's his second loss, and double elimination. That's how it works. That would be the end. If Mick loses, we'll see another game, and Andy will have to play his dark side, and Mick would have a chance to try Spark of Rebellion.
Yep. So Andy does have the Falcon in hand right now and enough resources to pay for it.
We saw Mick just kind of took back the balance of the Force and passed. Just all he needs to do is move that Death Star dial up and not lose 3 objectives, and
that is all he needs to do.
It's easier said than done.
Go ahead and look at the deck. That's an enhancement, I think.
But he lost. Oh, is there another?
I think
another slicer right
he
there?
does have another slicer in his hand. We'll see if he chooses to play it. Looks like the Nudge is going to be coming out, one of the most ubiquitous light side units. Just going to move that Death Star dial down 1.
Yeah, the Nudge at 0 resources and 2 Force icons. Just
right, and such a potent effect.
It's just basically a card out of your hand to bring the dial down, unless your opponent can destroy the Nudge.
Right, exactly.
But a card out of your hand can spell the difference between winning an edge battle and striking first, or seeing your opponent destroy the unit you wanted to strike with.
So we'll see if Andy, what Andy's going to do here. Could play out the Falcon using Kanan's resources.
You could use the slicer at this point too to get that enhancement in.
Right. Looks like we're moving to conflict. So he's going to save some of those resources open for Bamboozle.
Putting the focus on from
Dark Lord of the Sith, I think.
Right. And I imagine Emperor's Web is a tempting target now because of the damage that's already on it, but a Dark Lord of the Sith is probably got to be the priority target.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Andy chooses. Coming on in with Kanan Jarrus.
And Mick at this point is still fairly limited in his character selection.
It looks like he is going after Dark Lord of the Sith there. We'll see how Mick chooses to block. He might bring in some of those Lanix since they have tactics icons while they're committed to the Force. Or may prefer to stay back.
Mick is probably thinking at this point in time, if he puts in 1 unit and loses the edge, that unit's destroyed. If he puts in 2 units, he's committing heavy. If he puts in no units, without any fate cards in Andy's hand, the objective survives, though barely. So it's a matter of how much do you commit early on, and how much do you allow momentary losses to go towards the end game.
Yep, and it looks like that goes unopposed.
All right.
2 more damage on Dark Lord of the Sith.
And because he's already committed to the Force, Kanan won't be able to remove those focus tokens by committing to the Force this time. Mick's aware of that.
Yep, keeping Kanan locked down. Though we do have a Bamboozle here, which is going to move one of those focus tokens, or not one of Kanan's, but one off the Children of the Force onto that Sith Warrior.
Right, so then we probably have the Children of the Force or the Slicer going after the Web shortly.
Yeah, or maybe both.
And that's what it looks like.
And we'll see how Mick chooses to block this.
And we saw Mick allow the other attack to go through. I wouldn't be surprised if we see... And Andy's got... See, here's where the number of cards in your hand makes a big difference. Andy's showing 3 cards in his hand. Mick's only got 1 or 2.
I'm not sure. I can't see his hand is in the way there.
Well, he played out 2 in the last turn.
Yep.
Well, at least 2.
Looks like he's blocking there. Looks like he's got a fair few. 3, at least.
Yeah, maybe 4 if all he did was play a 2 and then he went and committed.
Right.
So if Mick wins this one, one of those characters has an edge-dependent unit damage. One has an end-dependent blast damage. Probably shut down the blast damage. Allow 1 damage to go onto your Lannick and move on.
And Palpatine says, "I win the edge battle."
Yeah. You want to play Palpatine, but if you don't have the resources, you got to cycle through your hand to get them.
Yep. And he's using Echoes of the Force to go ahead and commit the Children of the Force. Going ahead and focusing the Slicer.
Right, and by committing Children of the Force, now Children's going to have to take 2 Force icon, 2 Force tokens when it strikes, and it's not striking for that natural black blast damage. It lost that. It's going to do the 1 unit damage, and Mick's okay with that trade.
Yep, just a little ping. So yeah, that conflict definitely did not go the way that Andy would have preferred it to go.
No, that was a very solid play in Mick's favor at that time. But again, so much of it depends on how you cycle your hand and what you come through, and we'll see what Mick is able to take advantage of. Oh, here we have...
grabbing that enhancement right now, the bow rifle. Grabbing that with Kanan.
And it's going on to Kanan because it plays only on a Spectre unit. Or from the discard pile.
So looking at top card there, not a unit, but it was Yoda You Seek Yoda, which will be on his next turn.
Yoda You Seek Yoda allows him to get Yoda into play, obviously.
Yes, it allows you to seek for Yoda. Andy considering his whether or not he wants to commit anyone to the Force. That nudge is an option.
But he
commits the slicer. Dial or the Force stays with the dark side. Dial goes up to 3.
But it brings him one more defender. Forces Mick to think carefully about committing that other Atlantic lackey and trying to focus down more of Andy's characters.
Right. Mick pitching those Visage of the Dark Lords.
Yeah, still looking for resources to get out his bigger units.
Yep. And looks like he doesn't have any. He does have a lot of little guys. There's some Emperor's Royal Guard. One of the best chuds in the game for sure.
Another Atlantic lackey.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that one come out either.
He's got one of those creatures that I can't pronounce. And some Ice Tromper.
And the Ice Chomper, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ice Chomper come out either at this point. So redirect.
Yeah, Ice Tromper is a pretty strong play.
With 2 of Mick's objectives both into the danger zone, being able to force some icons away from them is fairly critical at this point.
Yep. There's the Emperor's Royal Guard. They can protect other characters. Moving damage onto themselves. And there's the Ice Tromper. As we said. Leaving one resource open. I don't think Mick had any events. It looked like he had a handful of units, but we'll see. All right, Sith Warrior coming in at Spark Rebellion. Yep.
So he's going to be able to strike because there's no way for Andy to prevent that from happening. The question is if Andy's going to commit anything. And I don't.
Yep, just throwing in the. Getting that 1 damage paying off. Committing the Royal Guard. And that will allow him to get both of those Royal Guard champions out and into play if you win the Force struggle by a certain amount.
So Mick not able to get out his bigger units, but still building up a fairly solid board state with all the adherents, all the people supporting the Emperor and Vader, but the Emperor and Vader are off on other business at this time.
They don't even need to show up. This does not merit their attention.
We'll see if Kanan Jarrus and the other members of the Spectre team can draw enough attention to them that Vader has to take personal action.
Got a Don't Get Cocky in hand, Bamboozle, Yoda You Seek Yoda, as we said, and the Falcon. And something else in there. Play. It looks like Zeb. I think he has Zeb in there as well.
Solid array of characters, but you can only play so many of them.
Looks like we're probably going to go for the resources first of all. Cloud City guest quarters, just going to ramp up the economy. Looking at the top card. That looks like an enhancement, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
We'll see if he uses the slicer to put it into play now or if he waits for a more opportune moment.
So looking at the resources available, we got 2 from the Cloud City guest chambers, and 3 others. So that's 5. That's a Falcon if he wants it.
He also has 2 on Kanan, I think. I think Kanan has 2 resources.
That's true.
But of course, you have to focus down Kanan if you want to use those.
And with that rifle on him, I don't see that. I see he wants to use cannon at this point.
Yeah. There's a lot of, definitely a lot of units staring down Andy at this point. A lot of units on Mick's side of the board.
And again, as a game where you're looking over the course of a number of turns to make little inroads towards breaking open your opponent's defenses, and he's looking at those defenses and figuring out what can he do, what sequence of events can he play.
Yep. There's the Falcon coming out.
And that's a fairly solid start right there.
Yeah.
Has a lot of unit, a lot of blast damage. It's got edge, and it's got the ability as an action to go back to your hand and get in another unit.
Yep. Focusing a guy there for Dark Lord of the Sith.
And unsurprisingly, it's not the Falcon. So here we're going to see the Falcon sent towards one of the objectives.
Yep, and since it has edge 1, Andy can comfortably pass. This is his first action in this edge battle, forcing Mick to play the first card, which can give him quite the advantage. We'll see how he chooses to take advantage of that. We've got the dial at 3 here. No objectives destroyed yet on Mick's side, but some damage has been placed on 2 of them. So Andy's kind of coming up towards victory. Mick has a lot of defenders right now, but as we saw in past games, those units can evaporate pretty quickly.
Right, and also it's important that because the Falcon is a vehicle, it gets past that Ice Chomper, which is non-vehicle units.
Right.
Forcing Mick to defend and probably go in with tactics. Otherwise, the Falcon gets its damage through.
Yep.
None of those units have enough damage to destroy the Falcon before it strikes. But Mick lets it go.
Yep. Probably choosing to, make that sacrifice now so that he can mount a better defense later. And the Falcon drops in Zeb. Andy does control more enhancements than Mick, which means Zeb has targeted strike at this point. And he's going to get a blaster pistol, which I think that's a cancel. Lets you cancel an effect that targets one of your smuggler's units. Or is it the attached character? Yeah, something like that. Looks like Mick's reading it too.
That was Andy's one objective set that kind of broke the archetype and customized it to his personal skill set and tricks.
Yep. There's no match for a good blaster at your side, unless it's the Force. And Andy thinking now about what other engagements he's going to want to do. He has destroyed 1 objective at this point. Just needs 2 more.
Zeb could be going after the Emperor's Web here.
Potentially. Or he may choose to hold off and mount a stronger attack in the future. He certainly has the potential to take the Force here. Kanan's committing 3. If he would get Zeb to the Force. So right now it looks like he's tied with Mick in the Force struggle.
Right. So focused Lanik Lackey isn't contributing at this point.
That is correct.
So the DL-44 blaster pistol, which is on Zeb here.
Yep.
It says, when enhanced Smugglers and Spies unit is targeted by an enemy card effect, shuffle this enhancement back into its owner's deck to cancel that effect.
Got it. So it is only that unit. But does give him a unit damage as well, which can be quite handy if you're going to use his targeted strike.
It also prevents the redirect by the Ice Chomper.
Mm-hmm. Choosing to pass there, letting letting Mick maintain control of the force. Dial ticks up to 5. And flipping the Hunter for Hire objective there.
Yeah, so we saw when Andy was playing the dark side, he was very, very good about building up an early presence and looking at how to get in a big churn with multiple objectives destroyed all at once from the dark side. And it looks like he's doing a fairly similar thing right here, passing on that, trying to minimize the amount of focus his characters have, and building up 2 damage on the Emperor's Web instead of pushing through, being too aggressive too early. He's looking for that big opening and get as much damage through as possible.
Yep. He needs to do approximately 7 more damage to win the game, assuming he blows up Emperor's Web for 2 and then 5 more on one of the other 2. I can see.
It looks like Bane Millar.
Yep.
Bane Millar in Mick's hand.
Yep. There he is.
And that gets targeted strike against a unit committed to the force, if I recall correctly.
Pretty handy.
Mick's still holding back with lots of defenders, but he needs to start building up openings in what Andy is generating at this point.
Right.
His tactics icons on the Atlantic Lackeys are handy, but they're also his units committed to the force. He commits with them. He loses kind of his control of the force. If he doesn't start using those icons, all those black blast damage from Andy's characters will just pile up and go through. He can lose characters as long as he gets those damage on the objectives.
Yeah, especially that Falcon. There isn't really a clear answer on Mick's side right now to the Falcon. And if Andy's able to keep playing it, keep engaging, and then popping it out, inevitably, I think it'll swing in Andy's favor unless Mick has some answer to that.
And here we do see Bane Millar, and he comes out, and that threatens Kanan now.
Yep.
I mean, it also threatens the Slicer and the Children of the Force, but primarily Kanan.
Right.
From the art of the objective, we would infer that Jabba the Hutt has sent Bane Millar after Kanan.
Yes. He is no doubt in league with the Sith and their creatures.
Well, if the Siths are supplying Jabba with creatures for the amusement of his palace,
that makes sense.
The question is,
his menagerie.
Is this before or after Rancor? Given that it's Kanan, it's probably Kanan and Zeb. I'm going to guess it's before Rancor.
That makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, we're moving some guys around. See, look, these are my cards.
Yeah. And
see how I move them.
And we're looking at Mick is looking at those tactics icons from his Atlantic Lackey and Bane Millar and thinking about how to start getting some control of the board back, not let Andy's side go rampant until he wants to strike. He's got to push it back a little bit.
Yep. Looks like he is sending those 3, the Atlantic Lackey, Bane, and the Railguard Champion.
Right, and we saw in our last game that Spark of the Rebellion was the primary target, and it is again because that ability to bring extra characters in from the top of the deck can just add up very quickly over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Andy's figuring out who he's defending with. I imagine he's going to send in Kanan. I don't know who else, but Kanan probably wants to defend himself. I don't see Kanan not being involved in this, whether or not he wants to.
Right. And we'll see how the edge battle goes then. It looks like Mick is sitting on at least 3 cards.
No, I don't see a smuggler's resource available. Otherwise, is that bamboozle still in his hand?
Yep, he still has a bamboozle.
But he does not have the smuggler resource to make it a playable option.
Yeah. Yep. But he is going to seek for Yoda.
All right.
You got to use Kanan's resources. Take the Death Star dial up by 1. And go grab Yoda. Yoda obviously being a pretty good defender. in this case. He gets unit damage equal to the number on the Death Star dial. So he's going to have 6 unit damage, which he could use to definitely snipe one of those attackers. Both players, we're going to see Andy declaring his defenders in a second here. But looking at Andy's hand, I didn't see too many Force icons in there unless he chooses to commit the Falcon.
All right, so we're going into strikes. It looks like Andy passed on the edge battle. So we just saw Bane Millar destroy the Slicer. We're adding up a bunch of damage here quickly. By bringing in Yoda before Kanan could be destroyed, kind of redirected Mick's unit damage.
Yep.
And brings in a new twist for Mick to have to deal with on the next turn.
Yep. And Mick playing, what is that card called? I don't remember what it's called.
But it looks like he destroyed a unit committed to the Force.
Yeah. Spark of Rebellion is staying alive there.
Barely.
Yep, just hanging on. I'm sure Andy has another one right on top of his objective deck.
Well, I'm sure Andy was aware that there wasn't enough blast damage in that to destroy Spark of Rebellion. Unless Mick revealed something else from his hand.
Yep.
Weighed the option of what he would need to do to defend against that and decided he'd risk what Mick had in his hand.
Absolutely. He deciding what to do here. So
he counted out 5, which to me spells Falcon. He could surprise me. I expect to see the Falcon.
Looking at the top card of his deck, seeing if he wants to spark. Yep. Ooh, hired hands. It's a good one. But if you lose the Force struggle, they go away.
If Andy commits them to an engagement, they're likely to go away or at least have done their damage.
Yep. And this might be a bit of an opening here for Andy, depending on how things play out, since Mick does have several of his units are focused down from that attack. His defenses are comparatively low.
So after checking the top of his deck and using Spark of Rebellion, Andy drew up, and now it looks like he's got a Cloud City Smuggler. He's got another copy of Zeb.
There's a lot of unit damage on Mick's side of the board, but not too many tactics. Just the one on the Lannick and then the Ice Tromper, which removes a unit. So there aren't too many tricks in that way for Andy to deal with.
Well, he's got the ability to use the Falcon and then bring either the Smuggler or if he commits Zeb and then gets Zeb destroyed, you bring it back Zeb.
See what he decides to play. That Outer Rim Smuggler would allow him to move a focus token.
And give him a tactics icon too, I believe.
Yep, absolutely.
And leave him a resources for Bamboozle if he's going that route.
Yep. Mick taking a quick look.
There he goes.
Yep.
That is what he's doing.
Yep. Tactics icons and the manipulation of focus tokens, one of the key skills in Star Wars LCG. One of the things that you have to be able to do.
Now again, Mick was just looking at Andy's discard pile, seeing what was in there, what had been played, what remains in Andy's deck and hand.
Yep.
New to this year, partly because of the streaming, both of these players have had the opportunity to look at their deck lists in case one had seen anything on the stream earlier, so they know each other's objective sets.
Yep.
They have a good idea of what each player has in their deck, and just what's coming to hand and how to play around the possibility of what might be in hand.
Yep. That Outer Rim Smuggler is removing a focus from Children of the Forest, focusing down the Sith Warrior, which only further reduces Mick's defenses, as we've been saying. Looking at the top card. seeing if it's something he might want to spark on Mick's turn. And we'll see how Andy chooses to declare his conflicts here. He does have some tactics that he might start with to open up the engagement before he swings in with his heavy hitters. But he also has to be careful not to overextend too much or take too much damage and wreck his forces.
Yeah, and he chose to focus down Mick's unit with shielding, which makes me believe he was going to send in that tactics in, and indeed he is. He's sending in both of his tactics icons.
Yep. He still has more enhancements than Mick, which gives Zeb targeted strike. Which would allow him to pick off one of these units.
Well, Mick has protect on
that's
his
true.
Royal Guard.
Yep, he would have to get through that.
The question is, Mick does still have a tactics left on one line of Galaki.
Mm-hmm. The Royal Guard can also only protect characters. So you could probably take out that Ice Tromper unless it gets used here.
I imagine Mick is going to use it, sacrifice it when it gets involved in the engagement.
That seems likely.
And I imagine it's going to be involved in engagement if he's not going to be able to think about how to focus down Zeb. If I'm running Zeb at this point, the Ice Chomper is probably the first one to go for. Can't be protected. Mm-hmm. Has the ability, more disruptive an effect than anything other than perhaps the Lanaklaki's tactics icon.
Yep.
Or Bane Malar. Bane Malar is another option.
Yep. So Mick choosing to defend with a Lackey and the Royal Guard champion.
Not ringing the Ice Chomper yet.
Yep. And now both of Andy's tactics in this fight are edge enabled, so he's going to have to win the edge if he wants to use those. Though he does have enough resources for Bamboozle.
I expect we're going to see Bamboozle here.
Yep, I think that'll be opening the way here. All right, so he does win the edge. With 4 to mix 1, which will give Andy the first strike.
We're going to see...
That Lackey is probably going to go away from a unit damage. Drawing from winning the edge battle. There we go. Remembering his triggers.
So Zeb has 3 blast damage at this point?
I think he has 2.
2. He doesn't get one from his ability? Or
the blaster just gives him a unit damage. Yeah.
Both Zeb and the 1-cost unit survive a retaliatory strike from unit damage, so I see the Cloud City Smuggler and Gambler probably focuses down first.
All right, playing Don't Get Cocky to give Zeb some more blast damage. So he is going to make a bid to blow up this objective here, or at least do a lot of damage. But I think he'll be able to blow it up with the black objective damage that he has currently.
It also takes Bamboozle out of the equation for right now.
Yep.
Saving it for later, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah, Andy does still have time in the game since the dial is at 6.
Right, and we've seen he's built really well towards that, holding back on plays that seemed like they'd be very good at the moment, but Andy realized there was a better moment for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Andy carefully thinking about how he wants to
I think we still have the
how he wants to deal with this. How he wants to handle his first strike. It's an important moment here. He almost needs to strike with someone with tactics first. Focus down that Lackey.
And that's what That's what he's doing here.
Yep. And unit damage coming in as well. Once we, we'll see if it gets protected over the Royal Guard. Nope. Lackey's just going to leave play, which is definitely the right call there.
So I expect Mick is going to take out the other unit with tactics rather than put a little bit on Zeb that doesn't destroy him.
Right, right. Yep, I'd imagine he's going for that Cloud City operative. And Andy's fine with that. The operative has served its purpose at this point.
And that is exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Andy looking at his hand. I don't know if there was something that he actually would have done or if he was just making Mick think about it.
Yep, it's always good to check.
Yeah, just make sure you don't forget something. And here's Zeb.
Discard any card out of Mick's hand.
Another Lennox Lackey.
Mm-hmm. And that's enough damage to blow up the objective. So Andy now has destroyed 2 objectives at this point. Dials at 6, and the 2 damage just goes straight onto the Royal Guard there.
And here we have 2 Children of the Force and Yoda remaining.
Yep. He only has to blow up Emperor's Web. Just deal 2 damage. And I think that's where we're going right now.
Yep. Yoda's got 1 black blast damage, so.
Mm-hmm. And the nudge.
Oh, Mick has plenty of defenders, and he's still got that Ice Chomper.
Yep. Mick has the Ice Chomper and the Royal Guard. All right, so playing well-equipped, Fate card, so to remove that focus token off of Zeb. And that is going to let Andy ping the center damage, but more importantly, focus down that Royal Guard.
More importantly, bring Zeb back to
exactly.
give the damage against Emperor's Web.
Here's Zeb and the Children of the Force, and I think this is the game for Andy because that Ice Chomper can't take care of all of them. Yep, he is defending with it though. And there's the edge battle. Yep, there it is.
All right, so we're going to have a game 2 here in just a few minutes.
Mick shuffling up his objectives here. Or rather, Andy's objectives.
Andy's objectives.
Exactly.
It's going to make... You don't want to see the Tarkin Doctrine come in if you're Mick.
Yeah.
Tarkin Doctrine forcing you to pay to make it engagement
yeah.
of your
Unfortunately,
choice.
all those Imperial Navy objectives are pretty nasty. There aren't too many ones in there that you want to see.
Well, that's the mark of a good player.
Yep. He does have Tarkin Doctrine in there. Might of the Empire and Entrenched Defense and Endor Entrapment. And I expect we see Endor Entrapment go on the bottom like he's, got right there. It's a pretty great objective
and Mick's
lineup.
got Spark of Rebellion. He's got 2 copies of it right now.
It looks like May the Force be with you, and then Last Warrior.
The Last Warrior is the one with influence.
So he's certainly got to keep 1 May the Force be with you and 1 Spark. And
the question is, does he take 2 Spark, 2 shots each turn for that extra unit?
Right.
I almost think we're going to see the Last Warrior come in.
Yeah, Last Warrior could be good.
We know he's got
can help turn
Heron
off those mouse
Ghost.
droids. But looks like we might be going double Spark. Yeah, maybe not. Thinking about it.
I've been wrong about 75% of the time with play.
What are we choosing? Yep, Last Warrior going on the bottom. 2 sparks, and may the force be with you.
Which is interesting here, as it leaves Mick with his faction is he's just got his affiliation card, and then he's with Jedi at this point. But he's going for just coming in from auto play from the top of his deck.
Yep. Andy Hornby considering his options. I think I see Chimera in there. He's got a Gladiator. Deciding if this is a hand that he feels like keeping. There's the handshake. And there, as we said, Tarkin Doctrine, Entrenched Defense, and Might of the Empire. Double spark, and may the force be with you. So this one is the big match. This one's for all the marbles, as they say.
Yeah, and
dropping 1 card to draw back up.
Andy's looking to build that early board. We've seen this now. We saw Andy play his dark side deck 2 times on the stream here, and then he played his Spark of Rebellion deck, his light side deck, and the last game. In all of these games, we've seen Andy build up his early board state, make some aggressive plays to get some damage on objectives, and then hold on for one final big push.
Yep.
And he's got a hand that looks like it's going to allow him to do that, follow that strategy again in this game.
Yep. He's got some Gladiators in hand. He's got Grand Moff Tarkin. All great options. We'll see how he chooses to play it. And there's Tarkin.
And Tarkin's ability to cancel the game text of a card.
Yep. Mick using his first spark there. It looks like no hit. And commit to the force. Flipping it over to the dark side. So it's now Mick's turn. Discards a target of opportunity to draw. Trying again with spark.
And he finds one.
Yep, there's a slicer. Gonna look at that. All right, that is not a cheap unit or an enhancement. That was an event.
And he's playing an Ewok.
Yep, and that guy's got to let him draw a card, which gives him another chance to use Spark. Then you can kind of see the synergies that Mick has built into this deck by choosing to include the Ewoks. So now he has an enhancement on top. And he knows that he'll be able to use that with the Slicer. Children of the Force coming out, and a nudge. So just a bunch of little guys. Dial is down at 0 at this point.
And for all those characters Mick's just put on the board, he still has 4 cards in his hand.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's the power of Spark of Rebellion. And he's sending in everyone but the nudge. Going in for some early attacks after entrenched defense. If left unchecked, they could deal 3 damage to it. Should about half kill it. But we'll see if Tarkin is willing to stand in the way, because he could take a fair bit of damage from that. Looks like Andy used Tarkin Doctrine, and then, yep, redirecting it.
So Mick going in with all those characters, it's going to leave him open for Andy's next play.
Yeah, it could be a golden opportunity for Andy to put in some damage, kind of like we talked about earlier, especially since the way that he focused his resources, he's going to have all of them open for his next round, allowing him to go deep if he wants to.
But from what we've seen, Andy usually spent the first 2 or 3 rounds building. If he went in and went aggressive in the second round, that'd be kind of a change from strategy, and that might be what Mick is hoping to do by committing hard to this.
Sure. So it does go unopposed, and Mick is going to commit 2 of his guys over to the force and switch it over. Dial takes up to 1.
We'll see if Andy ditches any of his cards to draw new ones here.
Looks like he might be chucking that defense platform. Got 2 gladiators and Chimera in hand. There's another gladiator, Lieutenant Mythal, and a Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate, of course, being one of the crucial cards of the game. Just its very existence changes everything. It allows a player to cancel an edge battle, which is what happens at the beginning of conflict.
And force a new one to start.
Exactly.
It's been one of the defining cards in that whole edge battle bluffing game since the very outset.
Yep.
And it continues to be so.
So there's a gladiator coming in.
And it looks
and
like...
I think we'll probably see another one. Yep.
So Andy was weighing here where he wanted to put his resources, if he wanted to double focus that enhancement or use up all of his available resources except for Tarkin.
Yep.
This way he opens up more of them on the next turn.
Absolutely.
And each of those gladiators have edge, so if he initiates or if he involves them in an engagement, he's going to add 1 icon.
Right. And their ability allows you to put a card into the edge stack.
But he's moved past the conflict phase. They're going to the force struggle, and he commits gladiator to the balance.
Yep.
Takes it back to the dark side, preventing Mick from dealing damage to one of his objectives.
Mick uses that slicer there to just grab a Dagobah Training Grounds, get that resource acceleration at the end of Andy's turn there. All right, grabbing a bow rifle.
Yeah, having taken a look earlier with the Children of the Forest after playing the Dagobah Training Grounds. Mick carefully measuring each of his timing steps here.
Yep.
And misses with his first Spark of Rebellion.
Dropping an Ewok Lookout or Ewok Ranger or something along those lines.
And here comes Yoda.
Yep. Yoda.
Always a fun play. Usually a pretty good one.
He is pretty good. We'll see if Mick chooses to use the second Spark at this point or if he is going to wait on that.
Well, he's used both the Children and the Slicer, so he doesn't have a clear idea what it is.
Yep. Be taking a gamble. We'll see if Mick chooses to launch an attack here or if he's going to hang back and wait. That seems like this might be a good opportunity. Andy's defenses aren't as fully fleshed out as they're going to be.
Yeah, it looked like we saw Mick give Andy the opportunity to use Tarkin's ability.
Yep. Misses on that second Spark there.
Yeah, looking to bring it in after Andy had the opportunity to use it or pass.
Right.
Little nuances in timing make a big difference at this level.
And
we have a giant crew all
everyone
racing
but the
after
nudge.
the damaged objective.
There's some Ewoks, there's Yoda, there's a Slicer, Children of the Force.
It looks like Andy will be able to destroy some of them, and some of them are going to keep going through.
Yep. Although Mick might have a hard time winning the Force if Andy chooses to defend with those gladiators. Since he has a twist in hand, since they each have edge 1 and can drop in more cards after edge stacks are revealed, it could be could end up pretty hard for Mick to win the edge battle here. And he is going to defend with both, as we mentioned.
So now Mick has to figure out where he's going in with this.
Mm-hmm. And there's that twist that we talked about going into the edge battle.
Yep. And then Mick's got to play the second card before Andy has to decide if he wants to play another one. Andy's looking at his hand.
Yep.
It's the bluffing game at this point in time. Am I going to put in my second card? Am I going to pass? I'm going to pass.
Twist, the target of opportunity, and a bow rifle.
And the target of opportunity is a fate card. It has a higher numerical value, so the twist happens before it, cancels the edge battle before the target of opportunity goes off, and there's no damage coming from the target of opportunity.
That's correct.
So now they go again, but Mick's only got one card in his hand, it looks like. Plays it down.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like he just passed on.
Yep. Look that way.
And he just pitches a card, I guess, to cycle through.
Cycle faster, yeah. Could be. All right.
If he is cycling faster, what is he looking for? He's looking for probably
Moment of Triumph.
Moment of Triumph.
Yeah. Yep. That's an event that destroys all units with cost 2 or lower. So that would wipe out a lot of what Mick has built up at this point in the game.
I think Mick's aware of that, and that's part of the reason he's probably going in with 5 units on an early engagement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you know that one event can destroy them all in a fell swoop, might as well send them in. See what they can do.
The other gladiator has another tactics, any unit damage that can be assigned. Yep, you putting the unit damage on Yoda.
Yeah.
Because you might draw up and be able to destroy all of those 2-cost units.
And you don't double focus Yoda, both because he's elite and because you're just going to use May the Force be with you to probably commit him to the Force in a moment and win the Force back.
Exactly. And so there's a reaction to the Force phase starting. Andy using Grand Moff Tarkin to blank May the Force be with you, keeping Yoda from winning it.
That is a clever play, and that's going to keep Yoda from. He's no longer available as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
If Andy can get, it looks like he's sitting on double tactics with no way for Mick currently to prevent it, unless he draws something from Spark of the Rebellion.
Yeah, we'll see.
So that could just keep Yoda from acting again in the course of this game if he keeps piling through like that.
Dropping a gladiator, there's a moment of triumph right there. Heat of battle, the Imperial Fist, that'll help to move damage. There's the Death Star. Nowhere near enough resources to play it at this point, so it's probably just an edge card. But
that moment of triumph is a huge card for Andy right now.
That is definitely what Andy wanted to see.
That's where pitching all those cards into edge battle, into just discarding to draw more, cycling through your deck, knowing what you're aiming for, and hoping to get there as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Although we did see Mick manage to destroy one of the Star Destroyers with that last engagement.
Yep. All right, so playing out the Chimera. And that's gonna tap him out of resources to play Moment of Triumph at this point. And I think that's totally fair because Andy is not in imminent danger.
No, and of the units that Mick currently has on the table, one is double focused, one is a nudge, which isn't going to be part of anything unless it has to be.
Yep.
And then
that Moment of Triumph, you really want to have it in your hand, but you don't necessarily want to play it as soon as you get it.
The Slicer and the Children of the Force are solid units for Mick at this time. Ewok solid with the tactics. Does it have tactics or is that
It
blast?
does have tactics, yeah.
Right, and tactics are always valuable for forcing the shape of a conflict phase.
Yep. All right, so Mick's going to spark here. Didn't work.
And it's apparently not an enhancement either, as we don't see the Slicer doing anything.
Yep. And just going to sit back and take the force. Turn goes over to Mick at this point.
So at this point, both players still doing pretty much what they want. We know what's in Andy's hand. That's bad news for Mick. That moment of triumph. Taking a look at Mick's hand, we got Yoda. You see Yoda.
Another nudge.
And I thought I saw Kanan in there also. So Kanan would give him a little more resilience.
Yep. There's a Kanan.
Yep, there it is.
Go grab him.
That'll work. There's a little more resilience when that moment of triumph comes.
Yep, exactly. Gonna look. And it's enhancement. Look at that. Got some fortifications for that Spark of Rebellion.
A little bit more resource as well.
Mick's gonna spark again. Missed on that one.
Apparently, you don't get 3 cards that time. So
2 free cards is the limit. So there's another nudge. Dial goes back down to 1.
We saw a lot of different light side objective sets during the World Championships. And while these Spark of Rebellion and these smuggler sets that were going with Spark of Rebellion weren't among the most popular, but we've seen in the last 3 matches, Andy and Mick and Ethan, they've all been playing. It's been very strong. And we're seeing Mick demonstrate exactly why. Just all these characters coming from out the top of his deck, enhancements coming from the top of his deck.
Yep, absolutely. So we saw Mick play out a couple of things there. He just dropped the Funeral Pyre, which we were talking about at the beginning of this game.
Which is going to allow him to focus down Grand Moff Tarkin at some point, unless Grand Moff Tarkin blanks the Funeral Pyre.
Yep. And he also played a mission out under Andy's control. So that card, it's a new type of card. It kind of takes the form of an objective that you can declare engagements against, that you can attack. But it provides some powerful rewards when it is destroyed.
Well, and here, and Mick has all the resources he needs to pay for the Tarkin Doctrine, since he hasn't been paying for his units so much as finding them.
Yeah.
Recruiting them, rallying them to the cause, inspiring them to join the rebellion. The other nice thing about the Funeral Pyre for Mick is that with his Yoda objective, he's able to commit units to the Force, remove their focus tokens. If he starts committing all of his units to the Force and running out of Force cards, he can then sacrifice those units to the Funeral Pyre.
Right, exactly.
It's really, that seems to be Mick's kind of defining meta choice on that particular build, is adding the Funeral Pyre in there for that card draw that we've seen. The Ewoks have given him the extra looks at the top of his deck, and that's been valuable. We've seen a couple different plays from there. And then this ability to focus enemy units and just who he has committed to the Force. It's all working very well for Mick.
Obviously. So it looks like Yoda is coming in here, all by his lonesome.
And we happen to know that Mick still has Yoda, you seek Yoda, so Andy presumably will have to defend against Yoda to keep him from destroying the objective and focusing down his units. And in defending, that'll leave him exposed for Yoda to make a second attack, provided he destroys Yoda, which I presume if Mick wins the edge, he's going to let that unit destroy the Yoda on the table that only has 1 health and go get the other one.
Yep. Looks like Andy does have another twist in hand. He has the Imperial Fist. He has the Death Star.
He has the Death Star.
Andy's edge hand is pretty strong right now, even though as far as units on the battlefield, Mick definitely has strength in numbers.
So it looks like Yoda has declared an attack, and Tarkin is defending.
I think Tarkin is defending, yes.
A little subtle repositioning of the cards.
Yep. Extra sneaky. All right, heat of battle. Just going to take out Yoda there. Bye, Yoda.
All right, but now Tarkin is going to have to focus to strike. He's going to have to focus twice.
Yep. But he will be able to use his tactics to focus down someone like Kanan, who could have swung in for damage.
Sure, and then, see, this is where Mick is going to be able to sacrifice that Ewok that's committed to the Force.
Yep.
Put another tactics icon, put another focus token on Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right, right.
So that he won't be able to remove all of them with his elite.
So we've got Mick thinking about it a little bit, seeing if there's something he wants to do before Andy strikes with Grand Moff Tarkin.
What do you do if you're Mick in this case? Do you let him strike? I'd let him strike and get double focused personally.
Yeah, I think that's probably the though if tactics happens, you lose one of your blast damage. Looks like Mick is choosing to he's going to sack that Ewok. He's going to get to draw a card, and he's going to focus Grand Moff Tarkin. So we'll see what Mick declares as his next engagement here.
Here we go, and then now he can declare an engagement with an Ewok, another tactics icon, force Andy, draw him out with one of those Star Destroyers.
Right.
Clear the way for Yoda to come in for a later engagement.
All right, looks like the Ewok and the Slicer and the Children of the Force all coming in together maybe. Nope, no Ewok. Kanan, there we go.
All right, so we've got 3 going in.
It's not too much blast damage among that team, but enough that you probably don't want to leave it unopposed.
Well, there's 2 edge-enabled blast damage. You have to oppose it.
Yep.
Because there's one black otherwise. So that's, I mean, Mick is threatening to destroy an objective right now.
Right. Which would be the first objective that Mick has destroyed, but as you can see, the dial is only at 1.
Yeah, a couple of ninjas. This is very early on.
Yes.
For all the board momentum that we see in is very early.
Yes. And he does still have that Twist of Fate. He also still has the Imperial Fist. Twisting away that Funeral Pyre. That's pretty good.
4 Force icons discard is what you want to do with your twist.
Yeah. All right, looks like Mick just passed and Imperial Fist. Healing some damage, dealing it out to Spark of Rebellion.
Interestingly enough, he goes towards the top one that's fortified as opposed to the middle one.
Kanan gets taken out with the unit damage there. Slicer gets focused down.
Yeah, this is an expensive engagement for Mick. I'm a little surprised he went with all of that as opposed to going with the tactics first. Apparently he's holding the tactics for defense. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Although, if he does bring out Yoda, this seems to be a little play that he wanted, that he's got Grand Moff Tarkin and the Chimera both focused. Of course, they're both currently elite, so he needs to get a second focus on each. Like 2 focus.
There's the Yoda, you seek Yoda. Dial up to 2.
I don't think Mick's too concerned about a dial at 2 at this point.
Oh, no. But every tick counts. You only need 12.
All right.
And Andy not having any ready units at this point. He doesn't have didn't have an early warning system or anything to help free up his guys. So it looks like Yoda's going to be able to swing in and
then claim the Force back with...
take it home. So choosing to swing just with the Ewok. Or maybe Ewok and Yoda. We'll see.
I personally, if you're going to swing with the Ewok, you go Ewok
Yeah,
and
you have
Yoda.
to swing with both of them. Yes. Attacking that mission up there at the top. And Yoda commits to the Force. Andy being tapped out of resources or Imperial Navy resources, he couldn't blank May the Force be with you.
Right, and dial goes up to 3 instead of 4 because Mick's taking the Force back.
Yep.
And Andy has 1 unit that he can use at this point in time.
Yep.
He's got plenty of resources to play out new ones.
Does indeed.
But he's going to have to.
Still got his moment of triumph. Oh, there it is.
Now he doesn't. But it's well played.
So that is going to take out almost all of Mick's board here.
Yeah. He has Yoda.
Yep. Yoda will be it. He'll get to draw 1 card from his Ewok. Looks like he just gets a resource. Nothing too good.
Yeah, still only 2 cards. It's going to be hard for him to win an edge battle with just 2 cards if Andy doesn't play deep and just holds on to those cards.
Right, exactly.
He's used his resources too, mostly, so he can't play too deep. He's going to have all kinds of cards in his hand.
There's a mouse droid.
Oh, would you like to focus Yoda to prevent the card draw? No.
Nope.
Mick, of course, making Andy think about it. Am I going to focus? No, I won't focus. And Mick taking a look. How many of my different units can I spark a rebellion still?
Right. He's got an Empire Strikes Back in his hand right now. Andy does. The card that was crucial to winning the last game. Gave him that last tick that he needed. Stormtrooper Assault Team.
Ooh, targeted strike. Yoda has to defend.
Yep. Yeah, and if he attacks with that, we could be looking at taking out Yoda.
Taking out Mick's whole board at that point.
Yep.
Of course, I don't think Mick still has 2 Spark of Rebellion he can test once it gets into the conflict. And
yep, absolutely.
Andy's declared his engagement. Mick can take a look and try and see if he can find any defenders.
And there it is. Stormtrooper Assault Team coming in. After Spark of Rebellion. He's going to look for it. Oh, he got someone. Oh, Hera.
There you go.
Blocking with both. Definitely a good find for Mick.
One of them maybe just. Oh, wow.
And Zeb as well.
And now we see the Spark of Rebellion.
Yep. The Rebellion has just rallied around Yoda.
The Spectre team was waiting there.
Yep.
It was a trap.
It was a trap.
All right, so this is where we're going to see Andy is going to maybe be able to destroy 1 unit, and then Mick's got at least 1 tactics icon.
Yep, he's got 2. There's 1 on Hera, 1 on...
Well, 1 at least is going to survive.
Sure, I see what you're saying. Yep.
That would be Grand Moff Tarkin would be focused, and that's gonna leave the board wide open for Mick on his next turn.
Yep. Though it's important to know that Mick still needs to put out a lot of damage in order to get through Andy's objectives.
Sure.
There's only 2 damage out there.
And is he defending with all 3? I can't tell.
I think he might be.
He might as well at this point in time.
Right. Yep. Playing in both his cards. Andy definitely needs to win this edge. Or this is going to look even worse.
Yeah. The Death Star is good for that.
That's what's called overcommitting. Not in a bad way, though.
That's just making sure you win it.
Exactly.
All right. Take your pick, Andy. Which one are you going after?
You get to choose one.
Do you go after the rounded icons on Hera? Do you go after that just powerful unit damage on Yoda, or do you go after Zeb, who's got the blast damage?
Zeb has the blast damage. I think that's the right choice.
Damage. Exactly.
Yep.
Except now you've got 2 tactics icons coming back against you, and it's gonna be hard to find good action economy coming forward.
Oh, we're having a little dispute here. Okay. Yep. Grabbing 1 bow rifle out of the discard pile. Going to drop that Stormtrooper Assault team. Hair strikes, focuses down Chimera a little bit more. And as we said, this does leave Andy with a fully focused out board. The question is if Mick will be able to muster enough blast damage to really capitalize on this opening that he's created.
Yeah, well, he's going to draw a hand of 6, and he's going to have at least, well, he's going to have 2 opportunities. He's going to have an opportunity to spark here before he draws. Oh, wow. This is
Kanan.
It's all coming up specters for Mick.
Gross.
Everything's coming up specters. So now, take another look
gonna do another
before
one?
you draw.
Okay.
No. All right, now he can draw. And he still has all his resources open.
Yuck.
That was a really big play. I mean, people have talked about how the Spark of Rebellion deck can be very swingy, whether or not you find those units, and there we saw things swing heavily in Mick's favor on that last turn.
Absolutely.
You get little cracks, and if you can take advantage, you can just blow things open, and this is an opportunity right here. We haven't seen Andy in this bad a position. I don't know if he'll be able to come back from it. Cool.
Yep. Playing out the Ewok lookout, grabbing a bow rifle, throwing that on Hera. That's more blast damage.
Yeah, and you got the funeral pyre sitting there still for just in case, Andy should happen to get a character unit.
Yeah. We'll see what he's going to play out.
So
Children of the Force or
Slicer.
Slicer. Either of those are good options.
Which one has the black blast damage? Slicer?
Slicer has the normal objective damage. I think Children have a edge enabled, which is functionally the same thing at this point since Andy has no defenders.
Sure, I guess the question is what you're looking.
Let's see. So Hera has 1, 2, 3 blast damage. Yoda has 1. Kanan has 1.
So unopposed from Kanan and Yoda is going to be enough to destroy one of the objectives, and Hera's enough to destroy the second.
Yep.
He needs 1 more blast damage to go after the mission if he wants. But, okay, they're going into...
Yep. So Hera destroys the first one there.
So Mick deciding not to play everything from his hand.
Yoda and Kanan going in at the second objective.
Yeah, but this is where Mick has got... he's got Mind What You've Learned.
Gross.
Oh.
Well equipped to remove a focus token from Hera. I think that might be the game in Mick's favor. Just an unbelievable swing with how many Spectre units he got on the board all of a sudden. That's a second objective destroyed for Mick.
And just Andy's board is falling apart here at this time.
Yep.
I mean...
Yeah, that attack went disastrously wrong.
Well, Mick played right into Andy's moment of triumph. All those little units going out early in the board.
Yep.
Didn't see all the big units. Didn't have the way to survive Mind What You've Learned or moment of triumph. Andy played it, and then that's where all the big units came out. Hera's back online again.
Yep. That's it. That is the game.
Mick is a 2-time world champion.
Wow.
What
a game. That was really just turned on a dime there with the Spark of Rebellion, the double Spark, the whole Spectre team rallying around Yoda to save the Rebellion.